So this is my 97 Toyota Tercel, and one thing about it is it runs really quiet, so I'm gonna have to change that. Here we go. One tip is if you drill a hole right here somewhere, water can drain out of the muffler, and your muffler actually lasts a lot longer. So that's one place I'm gonna drill a hole, and I'm gonna drill another hole, 3 8-inch holes. Here, I got a light. Another hole right up there, right before it goes into the muffler. Alrighty, should make it sound a lot better and louder because I can barely hear the engine at all right now. Alright, I'll do a comparison sound test. Here we are after one 3 8-inch hole. So I just did an oil change the other day on the Tercel and checked the spark plugs, and look at the difference. The gap difference is huge. I'm gonna have to turn this one. Might not be able to tell, but it's like 3 millimeters difference between the two. So we're changing out the plugs now. Long overdue. Here's an update on the Tercel. As you can see, replaced that fender, painted it red to match. Even though most of the car's faded, you see the clear coat's pretty much shot. This door, it's not faded at all, so the fender matches it fine. I painted the hood, got the dents out of it and scratches, and there's a ton of rock chips and a bit of rust starting. Fixed all that, painted it flat black. It actually looks great. Painted the grille to match, and it matches the bumper, so it all looks great. I painted that with a brush, a little Toyota sign, so that actually looks pretty nice. It's like the little cherry on top. Engine bay, cleaned it up. New spark plugs. Took it in, got a little tune-up. Everything seemed fine except the car was chugging when it was cold, so I just I went on the forums, talked to some mechanics, and the one thing that stood out was one guy asked if I had checked the coolant temperature sensor. So the mechanic had tested it and it checked out, but I still am like, well, that really sticks out like a sore thumb. So I changed that, and the ECU recalibrated, and after about an hour's worth of the car having been driven, the chugging was completely gone. Probably not even an hour's worth, but anyway, the chugging was completely gone. In reverse, it still can chug if you don't give it enough gas, but anyway, this thing has so much power. Like, it's so underestimated, the twin cam. Like, I mean, it's got a pretty tight gear ratio, but not too tight, so it can still, it's not slow. It burns rubber like quite easily, amazingly. Like, I underestimated these cars. I mean, most people just think they're a joke. I mean, most Tercels honestly are a joke, but the twin cam is nothing to scoff at. It's got a 1.5 twin cam 16 valve. Look at this stock ram air intake. I mean, the air box is clean, so it costs about, I think, $150 for me to hook up cold air intake from eBay, but that's just, forget it. When I can have ram air intakes, like, that's probably better. So yeah, it's working good. Doesn't seem to need it anyway. It has good throttle response, because I know that's the thing that cold air intakes seem to affect the most. That's the instant difference you notice. I've installed it on a Celica GTS that I used to have, and man, huge difference. But anyway, man, this thing is looking pretty prime now. I'm gonna install a nice tack. Gotta put the power steering belt in. It's a fun little car. Feels very light, only weighs 2,000 pounds. It takes off. Like, people probably think that there's something tuned under the hood anyway on this thing, but it's not. It sounds amazing now, because these things actually get 54 miles per gallon according to specs, the standard ones. The late model ones with the 1.5 twin cam. 54 miles per gallon, can you imagine? And with a little bit more exhaust flow, might even get 55. I decided to do a 6x9 install in the back of my Tercel. It had some okay speakers, but I really wanted to give it some decent 6x9s to give it that full range, because it really had crappy bass, obviously, and so I bought some Boss Chaos speakers, and it already has a decent deck in the front installed by the previous owner, so really this is all I need. So I cut out the shapes with a metal grinder and dremeled it so it's pretty smooth. It took a while to grind that down, but obviously took off everything on top of the metal, and I covered it with a recycling bag, and so that the sparks didn't fly everywhere in the car. But there was a lot of sparks hitting my face and everything, but I obviously had safety goggles on. So yeah, I cleaned that all off, and it looks pretty clean now. And also, since I had to cut these holes, like the holes didn't match up with where the holes were started. Like, it had 6x6 holes, like, but they weren't even lined up with the actual holes that were for the speakers in there. So I had to cut out some holes, and obviously this part here would be exposed, so that would look pretty lame. But I'd kept some cool cardboard from work. I just figured it would come in handy for something, and look at that. I cut it out using that as the template, and also put it on there and to cut out the holes here for the 6x9s, and pre-fitted it in there. It should look good. I'll have a video after I install all this. And here's the stock speakers. They mount like that, sideways at the back on each side, and that's the little 6x9 template thing that I use to trace the holes for grinding. These are the speakers, Boss, and lift that off. Pretty nice, good value. 400 watt, baby. Not bad. I don't want to overdo it, because it's not like I have like a really expensive unit. I don't think it can push much more power than 400 watts on top of the other speakers that are in the doors. So the Boss Chaos 6x9s are in, along with my custom cutout, and it's looking prime. I'll show it from the inside. They're 400 watt speakers, and they sounded great, but I cranked it and I put the aftermarket deck on bass boost, and I fried one of the mini speakers in this one, so I'll have to get some better quality ones. I recommend JBL speakers. Even if you got one of their cheaper ones, like, they're all really good. They're really tough. I have a pair of them in my Mini, and they take serious abuse, and they sound amazing. They make it sound like you got a subwoofer, even if you crank the bass. So check it out. My dad has a sheeter for making decals. I made a couple nice Nintendo decals custom for my car. One on each side, a bullet bill on each side at the front, and a bubble bomb at the back. Alrighty guys, I put in an aftermarket steering wheel, a tachometer with an adjustable shift light. I had to move the horn because the stock steering wheel is like designed differently. I don't think this aftermarket one was compatible. I think it's mostly meant for Hondas, but everything else about it I love. It feels way better than the stock, skinny little stock steering wheel. And my stock steering wheel didn't have a airbag anyway. And I also put fog lights in. Well, I actually got them done at the mechanic, and they look beautiful. The LED light is rigged so that it, if the car's turned off, then the lights go off at the same time. So, but yeah, the horn works nice. This one, the reason why it didn't work is because the button in there for pressing it, that's deep inside the unit, it sticks out so much that if you install this wheel and connect the horn wire, then it'll just, your horn will be going off like all the time. And I took it to the mechanic and he tried to fix that by putting shims in and stuff, but then the steering wheel got wobbly. So then I had to take it back, and he re-rigged everything so that I can have the horn down here, and now my steering wheel is nice and firm. And I really love this steering wheel for drifting in winter. That's the main reason why I bought it, because I mean, this car drifts really nice, like handbrake drifting. I really like the positioning of the handbrake and everything. It's a really light car, 2,000 pounds. So let's take a look at the LED lights right down there.